really feel like Kendrick Lamar is like the Taylor Swift of the rap industry at this point. You can't criticize him. His fans are giving Swiftie. It's like, you can't criticize the genius. You just don't get it. Okay, well, why are there so many Easter eggs in a Super Bowl halftime performance? Like, I'm not tuning in for a murder mystery show. I just want to see a mindless performance of some hits. Like, why am I missing Katy Perry and her dancing sharks? I can't even stand Katy Perry. But she's
100% right. And Kendrick, I think the biggest mistake that Kendrick did is that he went past the mark. I get it. I understand that he released this song and this song just went, I'm talking about mega viral, which is great, right? But Kendrick should have stopped there. He should have had that pop-up shop or pop-up show, and that's it. He performs it once and then he's done with it. He continues with his life, okay? Now, when they said that he was going to perform at the Super Bowl, I was like, oh, that sounds very interesting because he's somewhat of a decent artist. I still think that Lupe Fiasco is a better both rapper and artist than Kendrick Lamar, but that's here nor there. Kendrick's great. You can't take anything away from Kendrick, but if he just stopped at that concert, that would have been great, because if he gets the Grammys, he's like, hey, I'm not going to perform the song. I will perform at the Super Bowl, but let me perform my songs, let me perform my hits. But it was almost like a humiliation ritual which was getting performed at the Super Bowl. They had to just perform that song. Why? Makes no sense to me. If I was Kendrick, I would be like, nah, I don't want to pass the mark because I don't want to be connected to Drake. Now people are starting to say, well, if you think of it, the only reason why Kendrick is where he is at is because he's dissing Drake. If you think of it, no. Kendrick is a somewhat of a decent artist. So yes, he would have made it whether or not he was dissing Drake. Maybe not, he wouldn't be as big, but he would still be a decent artist. I would say like he would be somewhere around maybe what The Game, or like just one of those artists which are, yeah, he's a great rapper, like, but we wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, he's one of the greatest. We wouldn't be looking at him on that regard if he did not like connect himself to Drake. Now the thing is like this, right? If he's somewhere close to Drake, he needs to catapult himself to become even bigger than Drake, because he's saying, there's just me, I'm the top guy. Yeah, but if you're the top guy, you have to bring in the streams. You can't be the top guy and be somewhere around 4th place. That makes no sense. Drake is still the #1 streamed artist. So that is just what I really disliked about the whole Kendrick and whole Drake beef. It's just that Kendrick did not think ahead. He did everything perfectly. Everything was perfect through the rap feud, because I said it. Kendrick is done. Drake's got this. But then he came out of the blue and just did a 180 on us, which was amazing, right? But then he should have stopped there. Never go past the mark. That's very important. If you destroy somebody, if you beat him up, don't continue beating him up. If he's on the ground, put out your hand, pull him up. Why? Because you've already defeated him. You don't have to do more, right? If you continue doing more like Kendrick did, then he seems like the aggressor. Before, we're looking at Kendrick and we're like, oh man, he's the underdog. Look, Drake has all of these accolades and he has the industry behind him, and Kendrick is kind of like the underdog and he's really trying to go against the machine. But now it's vice versa. Now Drake is the underdog and people are rooting for Drake, and you should never do that. You respond like Trump does, and Trump plays this perfectly, because Trump responds, he attacks, and then when a person is hurt, like Kamala Harris, when she lost, Then he said, no, she's actually a great person. Like, oh, no, let's not do that. Like, when the crowd is booing Kamala Harris, he's like, no, let's stop, right? Because he understands, I don't know if it's a 48 loss of power, but he understands the dynamic. Never go past the mark. You don't have to.
I have never been more confused by a pop culture moment in my entire life. And if there's anybody out there that can explain to me what's going on, please help. This is from the Super Bowl halftime show from last Sunday, an event that was watched worldwide by like 200 million people. So I know that is Kendrick Lamar, arguably the greatest rapper of all time. And I get that the climax of the halftime show is him performing the track Not Like Us. So here's what I thought had happened, and you're going to laugh at me. It was my understanding that these two had a rivalry or a beef. And I'm not so out of touch that I don't know what a rap beef is. For example, I know whose hat that is on this album cover. And then my understanding was that after some back and forth, Kendrick Lamar released a song called Not Like Us, in which he accused Drake of being a predator who had assaulted multiple children.
True.
And also implied that there were multiple predators in his crew, that this was a systemic thing they were doing. I thought that this was him saying, hey, this is not a rap beef. I think you are a criminal. I think you need to be stopped. I think somebody needs to look into this. I thought he was saying there are actual flesh and blood victims out there with names who are probably scared to speak out because they are afraid of this guy. And I assumed that this was going to end with a trial because honestly, this kind of accusation doesn't surprise me anymore. I just assume this is going on everywhere. But then Kendrick Lamar releases a video for the song, and the moment in which he makes this accusation, he turns it into a joke. He's doing it while on a playground, like saying, see.
And that is what I really hate about this whole thing of Drake and Kendrick Lamar. I get it that it's a rap feud, but calling people the P word and doing all of that, that is ruining somebody's reputation. Now, I do have to say this as well, that Drake said that Kendrick Lamar was a woman beater, and yes, both of them were just wrong. I really hate the fact that we hyped this and we made this such a big thing because they are actually kids which are getting, I can't say the word, and that people are making it a joke. Like at the Grammys, they're singing that like A minor, like no, we should not be doing that. That is not a joke. It's nothing to laugh about. Like, I can't even imagine the people which have gone through that. And then you're sitting and laughing about it. What does that say about us as a society? I'm just like, no, that we should not be doing that. That's why I really hate the fact that Kendrick now, like in the moment, of course, I was also screaming A minor, but now, after a while, I'm like, this is not the way to go. So it's a hater just going for the juggernaut and trying to send the other one to Christ, and both of them were trying to send each other to Christ, but I think Kendrick took it a little bit too far.
One thing this Drake and Kendrick situation has reminded me of is that no one can take anything from you that they didn't give you.
True.
At the end of the day, as much as everyone loves Kendrick Lamar, he can't take not a damn thing from Drake because he didn't give him anything.
Yeah.
Anything that Drake has accomplished, achieved, he already got it. Drake literally yesterday was in Australia with a sold out crowd. So all of this is really meaningless. At the end of the day, Drake has the awards that he has. Kendrick has what he has. Nothing is going to stop either one of these brothers that's in their destiny. Just like you. You got people at your job that hate on you, want to stop your bag, want to stop what you're going to do, but they can't stop a damn thing because they didn't give it to you and they can't take it the hell away. As much as they click up, just like a Kendrick Lamar, as much as everybody switches up on you, just like all of Drake's old friends have switched up on him, at the end of the day, they can't do shit with you. Because they didn't make you, which means they cannot break you, can't take not a damn thing from you. So use this as an example that it doesn't matter if the whole world is against you. If God has destined for something to happen in your life, for you to become something, don't matter who hates you.
I listened to Drake's album and I must say that I thought that the album was okay. I don't think it was like what his best work. He has done way better albums, but the fact that Drake is standing up, the fact that he's still going on, says something about his character that, hey, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if people like you or hate you. If you really put in the work and you really worked on your craft and you're actually talented at what you do, there's not a lot of people which can take that from you. And I feel like Kendrick Lamar all of this time has been a hater. Imagine that Drake actually was the person which reached out and he wanted Kendrick and J. Cole to feature on that song, first person shooter, but then Kendrick was just being a bitch about it and he went and did all of that with the diss tracks. Kendrick is just a hater, and doesn't really matter how you put it, Kendrick just doesn't like Drake for some reason. And I'm like, yeah, I get it if Drake did something, but you can't be calling a person a P word if you're hanging out with P words as you were doing, right? Most of the people there at the Grammys, they're P words. They've done a lot of crazy things, right? But you're sitting there and you're like, oh, you're getting your awards when you are hanging out with P words, and then you're calling another person a P word. So I thought like the whole Grammy ceremony and Kendrick winning that many Grammys for calling another person a P word was pretty stupid, because it's like he's always going to be remembered for that. Now people are going to be like, okay, Kendrick, are you actually talented, or are you just one of those people which want to be connected to Drake? Because do you guys think actually if he just released an album without him dissing Drake, do you think that people would care about it? Do you think that he would have gotten as much streams as he got? I don't think so. And they could not, doesn't matter how hard they tried, they could not dethrone Drake, because Drake is just that good. We can have a discussion about if he has written everything, that you can have a conversation about, but love him or hate him, the dude can do it all. But this is one of those, you know, classic Drake albums where we're gonna be like, ah, man, we don't really understand it, we boys, but the women are going to start listening to most of those songs, and then when the women listen to them, we're also going to start listening to them. So I think there are a lot of songs which people aren't really listening to right now just because it's new, but once the women start singing to those songs, then of course I guess the album is gonna be judged a little differently. I thought Party Next Door was a little sloppy. It's almost like Drake looked at Kanye's playbook with the Ty Dolla $ign album, which Kanye and Ty Dolla $ign did, I think it was Vultures, and then he thought, yeah, let me do the exact same thing. But I think that it would have been more interesting to have Ty Dolla $ign's on this album compared to Party Next Door. If they just did like a swap, I think Kanye could have produced Ty Dolla $ign's way better, because there's certain songs where Ty is like, because Ty is like, no, not Ty, Party Next Door is harmonizing and creating this very interesting melodies, but they're not done. Drake jumps on some of these melodies and he does it a little bit better, but then again, you need that producer which can really get into it and really fine-tune some of the melodies and make it even better. I feel like Drake isn't really that producer, and if he can work with a person like Kanye, I think he will do extremely well. And I'm predicting that as well. I think that Drake and Kanye are going to release an album. I know they're feuding right now, but Kanye is one of those people which loves to go against what everyone is saying.